We should never drop that. We should never drop that.
Such a big aim.
That's cost money, you know?
There was a boy. He knew him well, ye cliffs and islands of Winanda. Many a time at evening, when the earliest stars began, would he stand alone beneath the trees or by the glimmering lake.
Rumpole?
And there, with fingers interwoven, both hands uplifted, he, as through an instrument, blew mimic hootings to the silent owls, that they might answer him.
Horace!
Bloody woman interrupting my words. What?
What did you say?
I said, coming, O master of the blue horizons, she who must be obeyed.
Rumpole!
And they would shout across the watery vale with quivering peals and long halloos and screams.
Where are you going today?
Down the Old Bailey.
Have you forgotten, Nick?
Oh, where else do I ever go but down the Old Bailey?
It's Nick's last day in England. When are you going to say goodbye to your son? Nick's coming up from Oxford. I suppose you've forgotten.
I'm meeting him at 12 o'clock at the Army and Navy stores. I'll buy him a new overcoat for America, and then we'll have a good lunch. Steak and kidney pud, I imagine. Something of that nature. Then I have to get back for a conference at 4:30. So you'll have him to tea, and then he's off to the airport.
12 o'clock. How can you meet him at 12 o'clock? You'll be in the Old Bailey.
Oh, my case will be over in a twinkling. It's only a shorty, open and shut affair. The old darling will have to plead guilty.
Nick does not want to go to the Army and Navy.
On earth not. He needs a warm topcoat for America.
I don't see why you have to go down to the Old Bailey at all on Nick's last day.
They say that crime doesn't pay. But it's a living, you know. Oh, yes, it's a living. Now, you think of it sometimes, old dear. That nice breakfast egg of yours, it could be a tiny part of the proceeds of an unlawful carnal knowledge.
Ridiculous. You do say such silly things occasionally.
And when you think of those barristers in Parliament eking out their stipend with a nice long firm fraud or a rape or two, you've got to admit it. If it weren't for crime, the democratic process would grind to a halt.
Well, I don't see why you can't take a day off to say goodbye to Nick.
I've only got a shorty. It'll be over in 20 minutes. No need to take a day off.
Like when he went back to school and you never got away to see him off at Waterloo. Occupied with some murder.
Some triviality.
Nick hardly knew he had a father.
Nick rather liked my murders. When he was a boy, we used to discuss them in the bath.
You're an Old Bailey hack. That's what you are. I heard Ted Forsythe say that at the garden party. There goes Rumpole, they said. The Old Bailey hack.
I don't know what Ted Fortescue has got to boast about. Family law? Poor old darling. A lifetime spent up to the ears in adultery. Well, I'd managed to avoid that at least. Thank God.
The Old Bailey hack.
Hack? Not exactly a hack. Been at it for longer than you can remember, Rumpole has. No flies on Rumpole. Cut his teeth on the Rex versus Magwitch and the Penge Bungalow murders. I could win most of my cases if it weren't for the clients. Clients have no tact, poor old darlings, no bloody sensitivity. They will waltz into the witness box and blurt out things that are far better left unblurted. You know what the Old Bailey blunts? It blunts the sensitivity. I suppose when I was young, if I can remember, I used to suffer with them. I used to cringe and suffer when I heard the sentences and go down to the cells full of anger. Now, I hardly listen to the years pronounced, and I never look back at the dock. I never watch their faces when sentence is passed.
What they got him for, you reckon? What are you here for? Stealing off the melon patch?
No. Attempted murder.
My brilliant client. They're absolutely brilliant clients, aren't they, George? I mean, he takes an antique dagger and he stabs a young man in the bus queue. Outside Lord's, 4 o'clock in the afternoon, I ask you. Well, I mean, if you must go in for that sort of thing, at least do it during the hours of darkness. And if possible, not in the St. John's Wood Road.
Who did he stab?
Oh, a complete stranger. Someone who just felt like stabbing. Absolutely brilliant.
My man decided to rob a dance hall on the night of the police ball.
We only get the stupid villains, George.
Why's that?
Well, the bright ones are all on holiday in Mallorca. It'll be a plea, of course.
Bates isn't too bad on a plea. It's when you fight he gets sarcastic.
Be all over in half an hour. I'm meeting my son, Nick, you know, off to America.
You're proud of him, aren't you?
Yeah. 3 years doing politics and economics. Postgraduate, Princeton. He's got the brains of the family.
You're proud of that boy, Rumpole.
That's it.
What were they doing you, sonny? Juvenile court?
No, number 1. That's where all those big cases go, like me.
Why did you stab him?
Oh, you wouldn't expect him to have a reason, would you, George? I suppose he stabbed him because he was there.
No. They should never have taken away our hanging.
Oh, he didn't kill anyone. So brilliant. He even made a hash of the murder.
Oh, murder trials nowadays are conducted in a holiday atmosphere. I went to number 1 court, the judge made a joke, and damn it all, there was laughter from the dock. Didn't look well. Didn't look well at all. They should never have taken our hanging away from us. Don't you believe that, Rumpole?
You know what I believe? I believe in mutual aid, universal tolerance, and the individual supreme. At heart, George, I've discovered I'm an anarchist. Man is born free, but is everywhere in chains. Oh, but even my darling Count Leo Tolstoy, even jolly old Jean-Jacques Rousseau would have drawn the line at shoving a dagger into a complete stranger in broad daylight, waiting outside Lord's number 13 bus. For a whim, wouldn't he, George?
You see, Ginger Robertson got away.
Everyone got away. Except one little black boy. Surprise, surprise. Rumpole will crucify the police on this one.
Crucify them? What for exactly, Mr. Winter?
Racialism. He'll roast them alive like he did on the Penge bungalow murders.
What was that, Mr. Winter?
Before you were born, Joe. Before ever you were born, Rumpole was crucifying the police.
I used to have breakfast.
Ah, there he is.
I used to have breakfast at a place in Ludgate Hill. Bacon and eggs and fat kidneys straight from Smithfield.
Really? Where's that?
It is now the Happy Burger Inn. How's the muscle man, Grace?
Oh, building muscles. He's got them splitting the seams of his snakeskin jacket. Drawback is it makes him so tired.
You'd be better off with an old man without a muscle to his name.
Having a cheese sandwich, dear?
Grace, I don't suppose you've got any kidneys, have you?
Mr. Rumpole, things you come out with.
Yeah.
Coffee, both of you.
Yes, please. No, that's all right.
Oh, thank you. Have a go at the crossword.
I'm sorry, George. My instructing solicitor.
Oh, Mr. Winter. Did you find him rather difficult?
Is impossible. He firmly believes the customer is always right.
James.
Thank you. Poor darling Mr. Winter can't tell a dodgy car salesman from the unknown political prisoner.
Will the owner of a Rumpole car, PBH1140,
Well, you'll have a bit of fun with this one, Mr. Rumpole.
Fun, Mr. Winter. Do you call standing on your hind legs and pleading guilty for a Jamaican teenager who shoves a knife into the first person who crosses his path fun? Now, what do I say to the judge? Oh, do understand, Your Honor. He'd just seen the West Indies drop a catch. Can I have a 10-bob fine and time to pay?
Did you say plead guilty?
Have you any other ideas?
Pick on these boys. That's what we've got to hammer home to the jury. The police victimised them, Mr. Rumpole.
You mean the poor old British Bobby has a blind, unreasoning prejudice against boys who stab people in bus queues?
Anyway, can they prove it? No one identified him.
That's true. Just another boy with a dagger. The common sight, apparently, at St. John's Wood roundabout.
Fingerprints all smeared. No bloodstains on his clothing.
I wonder why they dragged us out of bed to come here at all.
So where's the prosecution case?
Gone, Mr. Winter. Vanished into thin air. We'd get our costs from the police, a gold watch donated from the poor box, and have every inspector in court demoted to the rank of police constable, if it wasn't for one tiny triviality.
What's that, Mr. Rumpole?
Our brilliant client made a full, frank, and free confession to the police, signed and witnessed.
Confession to the police.
Detective Inspector Arthur of E Division. Behold, a gentle, fatherly man with a green finger for chrysanthemums.
Oh, there's an article you might use in New Society.
Use for what?
The percentage of arrests of black teenagers in 1 square mile of London.
The white boys got away.
So did the rest of the black boys.
There's an analysis in depth of racialism in the police. Quite obviously, it's based on strong feelings of sexual jealousy.
Morning, Mr. Rumpole.
Nice to see you, Inspector. Chrysanths all right, are they?
Managed a first at the Division Flower Show, anyway.
Good.
See you down there.
Down there, yes.
Good.
Now, what do you want me to do? Get him to admit he forged the confession in a blue fit of penis envy? Did give the old sweetie on the bench a fit of the vapors?
Well, you know best, Mr. Rumpole.
Yes.
Oh, we have one character witness, the vicar.
Oh, he'll be a great help.
The Reverend Eldred Pickersgill from the Sandringham Road Boys Club.
The reckless use of an offensive weapon will be far outweighed by some clerk in holy orders who says that our client's ping-pong shows promise. Let's face the facts, Mr. Winter. He'll have to plead.
I thought it might help us calling a vicar.
You, a founder member of the Beckenham Humanist Association, you fall back on a dog collar.
Will the judge like it?
Nothing inflames a sentence so much as an over-eager cleric. That's my experience. Well, we'd better get down.
Well, there's a lot to be said for our client.
Always.
His mother put him in care when he was 4.
Yes, could you imagine? Taking a little kid to the Brixton magistrates and handing him over as a menace to society. Can you imagine doing that?
No. No, I can't.
Will all officers in charge of cases who have not yet reported proceed to the police room immediately?
Good morning, Mr. Gladstone at home.
I don't think he's gone out to lunch with the Lord Mayor. Council to see the Piccadilly.
You know what the Old Bailey blunts? It blunts the sensitivity. Promising not to see Mr. Winter.
You may find him rather popular, Mr.
Well?
Who are you, Dad?
Mr. Rumpole, your counsel. He's defending you.
I don't need no brief.
You don't think so?
I told the judge Ginger done him, didn't he?
Ginger Robertson, one of the boys that went missing. That's our defense, if you can destroy the police.
Ginger done him.
How do you know that? Did you see him with a knife?
After. I seen him with the cutter after. Ginger threw it away, didn't he?
Well, you tell us, old dear. Did you know Ginger might use the dagger?
Use it? What do you mean
Yes,
exactly?
did you think Ginger might use the cutter?
I tell you, Dad, I knew nothing about that. Got us in the big court, haven't they? #1 court.
Oh, yes, Mr. Gladstone, you're a star. Why did Ginger do it?
Why?
Well, stab a man none of you knew, apparently.
I guess Ginger couldn't find any MCC supporters.
There was anti-coloured feeling on the ground. I told you, Mr. Rumpole, this case has political undertones.
Yes, but this old dear in a busque hadn't been at the ground.
I guess Ginger couldn't find any MCC supporters. So this fellow was there like. So Ginger said, might as well cut him.
Oh, dear me. Jolly old Jean-Jacques Rousseau.
Yeah. What's he on about?
Mr. Rumpole's a very experienced counsel. If we can destroy the police...
Oh, if. And if the judge turns out to be a Jamaican teenager with form, we might have a chance. Speaking myself, I don't believe he meant to kill him.
Ginger carried the knife. That's what he says.
Oh, Ginger formed the intention quite clearly.
You see, Dad? You see, Dad? Ginger don't like all the trouble of carrying no knife. Unless he's going to use it sometimes.
Oh, they carry these knives to prove their virility.
Oh, I'll tell the judge that. In his day, it was Conkers. Who's prosecuting here?
Mr. Pycan.
Magnus Pycan. Now, I wonder if there's the wildest hope we might get him to swallow ABH.
Actual bodily harm.
You plead to that, of course.
But if we destroy the police...
What'd they give me for that?
Oh, 9 months? Year? That suits you.
You want me to do a year for something I never done?
Would you rather fight and risk a 7 for something you say you never done?
Ought he to plead? Considering the racist angle?
Now, the judge will give you full credit for admitting.
Admitting? To what I didn't do?
Look at it this way. What's the credit in admitting something you did do? What's the credit in that?
You take the mick.
I'm sorry, it's a bad habit.
I tell you, Dad, I never done this cutting.
My name is Oswald Montgomery Gladstone, though in our gang they calls me Blades. Is that what they call it?
Yeah, Blades. That's me name. With the other fellas like.
I mean, I know you found the dagger, so I better come clean governor. Anyway, if you nabs Ginger, he'll grass on me. We was mad at the MCC supporters what annoyed us, so when I left the ground I had my knife ready, but the MCC blokes all scarpered. 'Cause I had the weapon, I felt a bit of a fool not using it. And there was this bloke standing, so I just let him have it in the Auntie Nellie. I'm sorry for all the trouble I caused. Signed, O. Gladstone. Witness Detective Inspector Arthur and Detective Sergeant Shaw.
I told them. Ginger done all that.
Did you read this when you were at the police station?
Of course I did.
Did you understand it?
Read it through, didn't I?
Well, I wasn't there, old darling.
Yeah. I read it through.
Then why did you sign it if it wasn't true?
Got bored.
Oh.
They were going on so long. You ever been questioning the Nick?
Not as far as I can remember.
It gets boring. You do anything like to get it over with.
Like getting back to your cell like and reading like a comic like.
Yeah. That's it. I was doing reading. I tell you what, if I sign this, they promise me a smoke like.
Didn't that strike you as a rather expensive cigarette?
Tragic story. Society's to blame, wouldn't you agree?
No one arrested society, Mr. Winter. Not yet. We've got dear old Mr. Oswald Gladstone to worry about.
What do you think about this case exactly, Mr. Rumpole?
Think? What I've always thought. Sport brings out the very worst in everybody. Football leads to violence and cricket leads to attempted murder. God knows what Ludo would do to a man. Ah, there's Pycan now. Huh, poor chap. Spends his life longing to be a judge. Thinks a judge is the only person in court whose hands don't sweat and whose mouth isn't dry with panic, which may not be true exactly. Magnus Pycan. So afraid of doing the wrong things, he makes notes with 10 different colored pens and never gets to his feet without checking his fly buttons. Pycan! You're prosecuting me in this ridiculous case.
Oh, yes, Rumpole, I am actually.
As a matter of fact, I heard from his clerk, the judge, wants to get away early today.
Tickets for Glyndebourne?
Glyndebourne, more likely all in wrestling at the Wembley Public Baths. But his clerk hopes very much he won't be kept late.
Well, this isn't going to take long, is it?
Long?
Well, I mean, I don't really see what...
Oh, well, give it a couple of weeks. I mean, 3 possibly. It's not a very long point, but I'll have to go into it in a little detail. You appreciate the point, of course.
The point?
The point of law. Rather a nice one, isn't it? You spotted it, of course.
Point of law?
Yes, of course you did, you clever old brain box. I made sure the point would not have eluded you. Oh, which means that we may get a pretty rough ride from the judge. Well, you'll have to bear the brunt of it, of course. Opening a 2-week case before an impatient chap like Bates? Well, good luck to you.
Is it really going to take 2 weeks?
Oh, well, now, that's entirely up to you, old chap. I mean, if you want to shorten it, your choice entirely.
I mean, I told my clerk it might be a plea.
I thought so. That's what I told my client. I said, this is a case where the prosecution will almost certainly make us an offer. Now, old love, what are you offering me?
Well, I don't quite see what I can offer you.
Don't you? Well, use your imagination, Bycat. The mind of a boy. They were playing games. Rapier and dagger. That's two of your weapons. Have at you, Cardinal's lackey. Take that. Oh, I'm very sorry. Rupert of Hensau. You know how boys play games, don't you?
I suppose so.
No, of course you don't. You were born aged 40 with a thorough knowledge of the law of torts.
You're saying no intent?
But they were fooling about. My boy made a pass at an imaginary musketeer and winged a real live accountant from Muswell Hill. No, as we lawyers say, Magnus, no bloody intent whatsoever. Now, what does that make it? You were at the Crammers last.
Actual bodily harm?
Oh, I thought you might accept possessing an offensive weapon.
Oh, it will have to be ABH.
Hard, Magnus. Oh, well, you've got a job to do.
Yes, well, I'll have to get instructions.
Well, you better get them quickly.
By the way, Rumpole, why is your chap called Blades? Because he's the one that carries the knife.
A knife? Of course not. No, the old dear's a snappy dresser, a masher, a dandy, a blade. Don't you know the expression? Oh, really, we mustn't keep the judge waiting.
What are they up to, Mr. Rumpole? Got cold feet, are they?
What's the time? Should be all over by 11. I'm meeting my son Nick, you know. He's off to the United States. Social sciences. Now, that's a mystery you probably understand.
You mean they'll want us to accept actual bodily harm?
Oh, given a following wind, I think we might edge them into it. Princeton University, they don't take many in.
I don't think Gladson's the type who'll want to play ball, Mr. Rumpole.
It'd be a lunatic not to.
I can't do it, man.
Oh, I forgot. He is a lunatic.
I can't ever do it.
Look, Ozzy. Blades. Do you mind if I call you Oswald?
Do what you like.
Only there was someone you trusted. I wish your family were here, your mother.
She gave him to the Brixton magistrates.
Oh, that's right, of course. Well, then, your father.
Who? My baby father?
The man his mother was living with at that time.
Yes, where's he?
Back in Jamaica.
Who is your mother living with now?
Last heard, she was living with a Mr. Hammurabi. He's Oswald's social worker.
Well, get Hammurabi here.
He sent us a report. He thinks Oswald should never have been let out of the detention centre.
Isn't there anyone in your family to advise you?
You're my brief, ain't you? You tell me what to do.
Very well, Mr. Gladstone. I will advise you to the best of my ability as your counsel. Plead guilty to actual bodily harm. Now, you're risking 5 years, maybe more, if you fight. Now, that's a hell of a bloody great risk, dear old thing.
You mean I have no chance?
As much chance as I have of leaving these marble halls and spending the evening of my days in a nice little villa in the south of France, being poured long pink drinks by expensive secretaries. No chance, Ozzy. No.
You got another case you want to do? You want to go work for some of them rich villains? Well, what's the matter with my case? Too much like hard work? All right, then. I'll plead guilty. If that's what you bloody want, I'll plead guilty. It's Mum. She wants me put away, don't she? All right, then I'll plead guilty to something I never done.
Are you telling me you didn't stab anyone?
Look, Dad, I never had the knife.
Are you telling me that?
You don't believe me.
What I believe isn't of the slightest importance. Is that what you're telling me?
Yeah, that's what I'm telling you.
Then we've got to fight.
Listen, Oswald, perhaps it would be more sensible
if he tells us that, we have got to fight.
Mind if I take him up now, Mr. Rumpole?
No, no, you take him.
Come on, Sonny.
Oh, I'll be up myself in a moment. Give me 5 minutes to ring the Army and Navy, will you? Oh, is that Coates and Macintoshes? Well, it's about my son, Nick. Well, he'll be walking into your department at approximately midday. Oh? I would have imagined it would be pretty empty. I mean, now we've lost the Empire. Nick? Oh, well, he's about 23, blue eyes, brown hair, no visible distinguishing marks, that sort of thing. Yeah, well, would you tell him his father is stuck down at the Old Bailey? Yes. Thank you.
Mr. Rumpole.
Sorry, I'm in court.
I'm so glad to meet you. I'm Ozzy's father. His father in God, you understand.
Ah.
Eldred Pickerskill. I'm priest at St. Barnabas without. There's good in that lad, Mr. Rumpole. Real good in him deep down somewhere.
Yes, pretty pity doesn't bring it out and give it an airing occasionally.
But he's a hard worker. He works hard at his classes. No result as yet, absolutely no result. But Oswald is not discouraged. He is, in my view, a natural optimist.
That's why we're fighting this case.
Mr. Rumpole, if you do call me as a witness, I prefer not to swear on the Bible.
What's the matter, Vicar? Have you no religion?
Percy Blakemore.
Percy Blakemore, will you take the book?
Pick 12 men off the street, you know what? They all look exactly alike. Am I getting past it, long past it? But it seems that all juries are made up of the same people. Or perhaps being a jury is becoming a profession. What were you going to do when you grow up, boy? I'd like to be a juryman, Dad. Work hard, my son. You may rise to be a foreman. Sit in the underground any day. You'll see them opposite you. Always there, 12 anonymous people prepared to put you away for life. And most people challenge women, especially in a stabbing case. I don't mind them. They're often less prejudiced, less easy to shock than men, less squeamish. The only thing is, that lady has a distinct look of the wife. Oh, well, yes. A challenge.
Did you say something, Mr. Rumpole?
Very little. A challenge, my lord.
Yes. Thank you, Mrs. Spriggs. The defense have the right to challenge jurors. They may think there's some reason for it. It casts no reflection whatsoever on you or your fitness to serve, but no doubt you're delighted to be spared this case. Yes?
Thank you, Mrs. Spriggs. This way, please. Albert Edward Walton.
Yes.
Will you come this way, please? You take the book in your right hand, please, and read the words on the card.
Out of the frying pan into the bloody pulpit with him, old darling. Is that a Baptist button in his lapel?
Did you say something, Mr. Rumpole?
Nothing, my lord.
This is not a railway station. I like to have silence while the oath is administered.
Judges used to scare the living daylights out of me. Terrible old darlings who went back to their clubs and ordered double muffins after death sentences. Bright purple with rage they used to be. Or white as paper, with voices like ice cracking as they put the boot in. All the same, you can work on those judges. You could divert that rage onto the opposition. Or move them to tears about an old lag's army record. Yes, my lord, he has his little foibles and faults, but he did extremely well on the Somme. Oh, this one's a civil servant, not a tear in him. Can't seem to get onto terms with him somehow. Oh, there he is, giving me a look of vague disgust, like Queen Victoria with a bad period.
Do you wish to ask the inspector anything?
Have you got the statement my client is supposed to have made at the police station? Did you read that back to him before he signed it?
As I remember, he read it himself.
You're sure of that?
Yes, quite sure. As a matter of fact, he read it aloud to me.
He read it all through out loud?
Yes, he did, my lord.
And you didn't read it back to him?
No, I don't believe so.
You swear you did not?
I swear I didn't read it to him. Mr. Gladstone read it himself.
And this is a statement alleged to have been made by a Jamaican teenager in the year 1974.
It was made, sir, by your client.
Every word his?
Every word.
Oh, come now, Inspector. Don't you think you officers ought to brush up on your Jamaican?
I don't know what you mean, sir.
Neither do I, Mr. Rumpole.
Well, it's just that you composed this piece of sparkling prose in the dead language of dear old Edgar Wallace.
Mr. Rumpole, are you suggesting that your client's statement was composed by this officer?
I'm suggesting, my lord, that the whole shooting match comes out of the old police book of verbals. Now, no self-respecting criminal talks like this nowadays, does he, Inspector?
Mr. Rumpole, the jury may not be as expert as you are on the way self-respecting criminals talk.
Then let me demonstrate, my lord. In our gang, they calls me Blades. He said gang.
That's what I wrote down.
Oh, yes, of course, but is that what he said?
He said gang, if I wrote that down.
Gang. Not firm. Not family, not team. Gang. Oh, dear me, what a nice old-fashioned boy. I know you found the dagger, so I'd better come clean, Governor. Oh, really, you left something out, did you, Inspector? What about it's a fair cop, and you got me banged to rights?
Mr. Rumpole, is this cross-examination meant to be taken seriously?
Well, only if this piece of paper is meant to be taken seriously, my lord. Anyway, if you nabs Ginger, he'll grass on me. Oh, do you know, Inspector, had Mr. Gladstone been going to night classes in old-time Cockney, had he written a thesis on the argot of the Artful Dodger?
Not as I know of.
Mr. Rumpole.
Or did these quaint phrases drift up from your memories of happier times, when all confession statements taken by the police began with, "It's a fair cop," just as a formality?
Mr. Rumpole, I sincerely hope there'll be some evidence to support this attack on the officer's integrity.
Oh, at the moment, my lord, I'm simply attacking his prose style.
You are suggesting he is lying.
Oh, my lord, certainly. The same suggestion will doubtless be made to my client. The compliments are mutual.
Mr. Rumpole, you have some experience in these courts.
A little, my lord. Just a little.
Over a long period of years?
You might say, my lord, from time immemorial.
And you know very well the limits to which defending counsel may go.
I have often been reminded of them, my lord.
I imagine you have. If the cross-examination we have just heard, Mr. Rumpole, is typical, I imagine you have had to be reminded often. One does not expect to have to repeat such reminders to counsel of your advanced age and seniority. Mr. Rumpole.
Yes, my lord.
Have you any other questions for this officer?
Oh, a great many. I was anxious not to interrupt the flow of your lordship's rebuke. Now, wouldn't you agree, Inspector, that this really is a golden oldie of a confession statement?
The jury may have some idea what that question means. I have none.
What's the answer, Inspector?
The answer is no.
No. Members of the jury, this case is obviously going to detain us a considerable time. We have yet to learn the nature of the defense. Yes. 2:10, please.
Great work, Mr. Rumpole.
Marvellous, sir.
Crucifying him, that's what you're doing.
Oh, well, it's not easy without any nails. Nick!
Father?
Oh, Nick, I'm sorry. My lunatic of a client decided to protest his innocence. Didn't you get a coat?
I don't need one, really.
I wanted to take you to Simpson's for steak and kidney pud.
It doesn't matter.
Well, look, they do you quite well across the road. Some cold rare beef, baked potato, chicken leg, slice of turkey. What do you say? Yes.
Only cheese sandwiches.
My life seems to revolve around cheese sandwiches.
Honestly, I'm not hungry.
I don't suppose... 2 cheese sandwiches. With pickle. Now, you'll need something pretty potent to wash down that dry old sandwich. See if they can rustle up a bottle of cooking claret, sweetie, will you?
A lager will do me. Half of lager.
Oh, go on, have a shot.
Not for me, honestly.
No pickles.
It's not your day, is it?
Judge doesn't think so. Half a lager, please, love, and I'll have a rum and a fortifying Guinness. What time's the plane, Nick?
6 o'clock. One of those charters.
Having tea with your mother?
She wants me to.
Yes, well, try not to cut it, eh? I mean, watch out for she who must be obeyed.
I want to see her anyway.
Well, have you got enough money? Would you care for a few quid?
I've got enough. I worked all last holidays.
Ah, of course. Pretty dirty sort of work, wasn't it? I take my hat off to you. I could never dig up the underground.
I don't think I could do your job either.
Oh, come on, Nick. The Old Bailey's not so bad. Have a lot of good, clean fun down the Bailey.
Is that what you were having this morning?
There you are.
Ah, thank you. I forget, do you smoke these things?
No.
Ah, no, of course. Oh, filthy habit.
No, but were you having fun?
Well, yes, I suppose I was. In my own quiet way. This isn't even any good as a cheese sandwich.
But I mean, that judge.
No. That judge was defending bad cases of unrenewed dog licenses when I was doing the Penge Bungalow murders alone and without a leader.
I don't know how you could go on when you started talking.
No. I'll tell you how. You smile a sweet smile of Chinese inscrutability and you say, as your lordship pleases. Take the rough with the smooth, Nick. In a dozen oysters, there's one that'll give you collywobbles. Of all the judges that are available, you get the one that looks as if he's having woman trouble. Of all the girls you might marry, you pick your mother.
Suppose you thought you were wasting time.
Time? Well, how long should it take to rob a boy's life for 5 years? I was hoping to be a shorty.
And pretending.
Pretending what?
Pretending your mugger's innocent. I mean, judges must get sick and tired of all those phony defences, looking at the policeman's notebook and all that sort of nonsense, when surely everyone knows.
Knows? What do they know?
Well, he actually admitted.
Oh, so they say. Nobody knows anything, Nick, until it's proved. And even then you might have a nagging doubt.
Members of the jury, while there remains a particle of doubt. Yes, I can remember you practicing that speech in front of the bathroom mirror.
Yes.
While I put my rubber duck's head under the water so it wouldn't be embarrassed. It's your stock in trade, isn't it? Doubt.
Well, better than being a cleric and dealing in improbable beliefs. Nick, I'm sorry I was busy.
I didn't mind. Not till I saw what you were busy at.
Oh? Do you find it so disreputable?
But if that boy's guilty, which he obviously is, then surely...
We're all guilty of something, Nick. Everybody's guilty of something, old dear. If anyone gets off, it's a plus.
A plus for who?
Well, it's a strange quality of human nature, Nick. Could I have another rum, please, love?
Right.
Yes, thanks. Nick, nothing? Sure? You know, people show an almost comic relief at not being locked up. And they actually enjoy not having to share one chamber pot through endless night. Banged up with 2 frightened, vindictive, and sexually frustrated strangers. Do you find that so very odd? My clients relish a good win as much as I do.
What about society? I mean, all that getting people off. Is it much good to society at large?
Our society can open a door at night and go to a real lavatory.
Well, shouldn't you see it's protected occasionally?
No, just at the moment, I've got my hands full protecting Mr. Ozzy Gladstone.
By telling lies?
By telling his story for him, as well as I can. What do you think I am, Nick? I'm nothing but a ventriloquist doll, stuck up there, perched on Mr. Gladstone's knee.
Do you think that's a very dignified position?
Oh, you can't be born or die in a dignified position. Now, how the hell can you live in one, old dear? Thanks, love. Do you know that boy's mother sent him away when he was 4 years old? Sent him away from home, I mean.
Of course, I was 7 when you sent me to Wagoners.
Oh, no.
With a cake in a box. To get beaten by the sixth formers and fancied by the French master.
Oh, come on, Nick. That was entirely different. Well, wasn't it entirely different? We always got on so well together, Nick, didn't we? I mean, we had some grand times in the holidays. Had tea at Gunter's, Panto, treats like that.
I can remember a few treats when you weren't working.
Well, then.
I never thought much about your job.
No, I don't suppose you did. Mind you, I had to take on every petty crime so that I could pay the school fees.
I mean, I used to come to court occasionally.
I was reminding your mother of that. You took an interest in my cases in those days.
It was rather exciting. You in a wig, and the policeman gave me chewing gum, and that feeling of desperate criminals locked underground.
Yeah, there, you see. There is an atmosphere at the Bailey. Quite a jolly feeling sometimes.
But today, when I saw you standing there, saying things you really didn't mean...
It's not what I was doing.
I suddenly knew why... Well, you've never really said much you meant to me, have you?
No, I'm sorry we couldn't get to Simpsons, Nick. It would have been so much more pleasant than...
Yes. Yes, we'd have had steak and kidney pudding. You'd have been in a good mood and told me a string of funny stories about your favorite murders, but you wouldn't have actually said anything. Not something of your own. I suppose it's all that ventriloquist business. You must forget your own voice sometimes.
Ah, my voice, now. It's a good voice. I flatter myself. There was a boy, ye knew him well, ye cliffs and islands of Winander.
I think actually that's what Mother finds difficult.
Oh, what does the leader of the opposition find difficult, exactly?
Knowing exactly who you are.
Oh, good God, been married for 30 years, so she doesn't know that by now.
It's only... I'm going away. She's not very happy, actually. I wanted to talk about it.
It's not easy to talk here. Ah, it's too bad. He should have pleaded.
But I can understand what you meant now I've seen you. In action. Is that what you call it?
In action, yes, I suppose you could call it that.
She says you're always arguing, but she never knows whether it's an argument or just a game. Like the game you were playing this morning. She says you seem to hate her sometimes, really hate her, but she can't tell whether you mean it. In a way, she says she'd rather you did than pretended to.
But I say wonderful things to her, Nick, very often. I say wonderful, complimentary things.
Of course, she doesn't believe those, either.
She's not very happy. She's not. Well, what do you think I feel, Nick? What do you think?
I don't know. I don't know what you feel.
Mr. Rumpole?
Oh, yes.
I'm sorry. Mr. Rumpole, I got a message through from the prison officer.
Yeah.
Gladstone wants to see us at once.
Oh, you know my son, Nick, don't you? He's off to America. Oh. Mr. Winter, my instructing solicitor, and Joe... Joe.
How do you do?
I'm sorry, it sounded urgent.
Ah, my master's voice. Yes, well, have a good journey. Well, I don't suppose it'll be forever, will it? I mean, holidays. You'll be coming back.
I expect so.
Sorry the lunch was so scrappy.
That's all right.
Oh, damn it, we haven't had a talk yet, even.
No. No, we haven't.
Bye.
I don't feel that Judge likes you, do he?
Don't want to worry about that. Mr. Rumpole's doing a great job, Oswald.
I don't think he likes you at all.
Poor old sweetheart. Not altogether crazy about him.
It's the jury that matters, Oswald. And Mr. Rumpole's getting through to the jury.
From what I see, that judge, he's pretty angry with you, mister.
All part of the wear and tear, Ozzy.
So when I see that, I decided to plead guilty.
But Mr. Rumpole explained. If you tell us you didn't do it...
I tell you now, I don't want this going on.
But if you didn't do it...
I made that statement, didn't I? That judge. She's really getting angry.
But, Oswald, I told you, it's the jury.
It's all gone against us.
If you ask me... You ask me, and I know. I mean, I've seen them all at work. And Mr. Rumpole's cross-examination was brilliant. I mean, he had Detective Inspector Arthur right on the ropes.
Sorry, Dad. Knew you tried real hard.
Thank you.
Just wasn't working for you, was it?
You're quite sure?
I'm sure.
We'd better take written instructions to plead guilty.
Cheer up the old judge anyway.
Well, I think you're doing the wrong thing, Oswald. I think it's a tragedy. I mean, give Mr. Rumpole another half hour with that inspector, and it'll come out what he is, a nigger hater.
He didn't call me no nigger. He never called me that.
Well, if you think you know what you're doing.
Have you got there, Mr. Rumpole?
Written instructions for you to sign. You can sign that, can't you?
Yeah. Yeah, I can write me name.
No, we'll read it through first before you sign it. Just read it through, I think.
Okay, read it.
Are you sure?
Okay.
Why don't you read it through out loud? Come on, old dear. Just so that we can be sure you've got it perfectly clear. Out loud, like you did down the neck. Why didn't you tell us?
What do you want me to do?
I rather think I want you to fight, old sweetheart.
You've got the nails now, Mr. Rumpole. You'll crucify the inspector.
Nails? Well, let's say just the tiniest tin tack. Well, I wouldn't be surprised they gave him up as a bad job. Then you talk about how long you've been working with him.
Oh, several months now.
Months? Indeed. Thank you very much, Vicar. Thanks, Joe.
Yes, Mr. Rumpole?
Officer, you remember saying before we adjourned for luncheon, you didn't read his alleged statement out to my client?
Yes, sir.
But the reverse was the case, and he read the statement out to you.
Did he say that?
Oh, yes. Has it escaped your lordship's note?
He read it all through out loud. I didn't read it back to him. Is that the passage?
Your lordship has the passage. Is that right?
Well, I think...
Is that exactly what happened?
Yes.
Would it interest you to know, Inspector, that Oswald Gladstone can neither read nor write?
But,
Oh, he can scrawl a signature, just. He's learnt to copy some sort of scribble. But I shall be calling, and this is for your lordship's note, a vicar, a clergyman of the Church of England, the Reverend Eldred Pickersgill. If your lordship would like me to spell that out for him.
No.
And in the boys' club he runs, the reverend gentleman has tried night after night to push the letters of the alphabet into the head of Oswald Gladstone. And the result is?
Well?
A blank, my lord. A total and absolute blank.
You mean, Mr. Rumpole, he can't read?
Poetry, my lord. The whole realm of poetry is a closed book to him. Wordsworth is silent. Dickens and Thackeray might not have existed. He can't even look up and tell what street he's in, nor read the simplest directions for assembling a model aeroplane.
Well, he either can read or he can't. Which is it?
He can't. Can he, Inspector?
I don't know about that.
Don't you?
Mr. Rumpole, You are intending to call this vicar?
The Reverend Eldred Pickersgill, my lord, has forsaken his cure of souls and has waited all day outside your lordship's court. Now, if I may cross-examine this witness without interruption, do you still say, Detective Inspector Arthur, that my client read his statement aloud to you?
I imagine so.
You imagine so? You have a fertile imagination, Inspector. Do you think that you dreamt this entire document?
I must have read it to him.
Must you?
Must have done.
Really?
I must.
Then you must have been lying, Inspector, when you gave your evidence to this jury this morning.
Do you accept, Inspector, that this young man could not read?
If the vicar says so, my lord, I must accept it.
So it follows from that you didn't put my client's reading to the test.
It must do.
And that the evidence you gave this morning was quite misleading.
Yes, but...
Oh, there are no buts, Inspector. It was either true or false. Which?
It was incorrect.
Yes. And if my client couldn't read, he wouldn't know whether you were writing down his words or your words, Inspector.
He might not know.
He would not know.
He wouldn't know.
No. Now let me put to you what my client actually told you. And, Inspector.
Yes, sir.
Perhaps this time you will try to assist the court by telling us the truth. He told you, did he not, about a boy called Ginger Robertson?
Yes, he did.
Who was present at the scene of the crime?
Yes.
But who is not there in that dock?
No.
No, because the combined power and brilliance of the detective force has not succeeded in catching that gentleman, Ginger Robertson. Are the police still out looking for him?
No, sir.
Why not?
Because when we got the Gladstone confession,
Which you had written yourselves. You didn't think it worthwhile the further trouble of apprehending the true criminal. You see, Nick, sometimes it goes well. Sometimes it goes beautifully. Sweet and easy as cutting off a hunk of Stilton cheese or knocking back a Guinness. Oh, you've got to lay the ground, though. You notice I tied him down before lunch, got him committed to his story. Well, then I didn't really know why I was doing it. But it was the instinct, you see. That's why they use old Rumpole, Nick. It's the dear old instinct. See how it's working for us. They're never going to believe Ozzy's confession now. See how it's working for us, Nick. She was an elfin pinnace. Lustily I dipped my oars into the silent lake. And as I rose upon my oar, my boat went heaving through the water like a swan. Oh, ye presences of nature in the sky and on the earth, ye visions of the hills.
Excuse me, did you say something?
No, I didn't say anything.
Had a good day, Rumpole?
Oh, yes, quite a good day, George. Had a bit of fun with the detective inspector. He'll probably go home and kick the chrysanthemums. Does the Old Bailey blunt the sensitivity? Well, how much gets blunted anyway in 64 years? In the passage of time, sensitivity drops away unnoticed. Like hair comes out on the comb. I masticate well. I've kept my teeth longer than most people.
So you never got away to see your son?
Sorry?
You had a fight on your hands. You never got away to see your boy.
Oh, Nick. Nick came down to the Bailey to see the old man in action.
You'd have enjoyed that.
Yes. Nick's always liked the Bailey, even when he was a schoolboy. He used to come and watch my murders. Then I'd give him a rattling good tea.
You crucified him, Mr. Rumpole.
Not over yet.
Oh, it's a foregone conclusion.
Oh, good night, Inspector.
Good night, Mr. Rumpole.
Or else, sweetheart. You know, Ozzy could have said all that to him. Every word. The only mistake the inspector made was to ginger it up with a little lie.
His only mistake. Do you believe that, Mr. Rumpole?
Who knows? It's not my job to believe anything, old dear.
You saw Nick then?
Yes. Yes, I saw him. We had a bit of a scrap lunch, but it was very pleasant. Oh, very pleasant indeed.
He said you had a sandwich in the pub.
A stab wound entering the body at an angle of approximately 45 degrees. Well, you know how it is. It's difficult to make plans down the Bailey.
He said he talked about you. About your work. He seemed to think it was a little, well, off-colour somehow.
Did he? Did he give you that impression?
I must say, I wasn't having that from Nick. Your father, I told him, is a member of an honourable profession. Besides, think of all he has done for you. Wagoners, Oxford, and lots of help going to America.
All the proceeds of crime?
I certainly did not say that. I said, Nick, you should respect your father. That's what I said.
Thank you.
Well, you should.
Nick thinks we ask all the wrong questions, just so as to get the wrong answers. That's what he thinks.
It rather upset me, talking like that.
He's quite right, of course.
Rumpole.
Oh, well, I mean... Why? That's the question we ought to ask ourselves about Mr. Ozzie Gladstone. Why? Not who's guilty, who did it. Can you prove it? Yes, I can. No, you can't. Bags, I have the last word and the burden of proof. But why? Why ever did that happen? Outside Lords, for no reason whatsoever. Well, God knows I believe in freedom, but jolly old Jean-Jacques Rousseau, I'd like to ask him a few pertinent questions.
I have no idea what you're talking about. As far as I am concerned, you are a member of an honourable profession, and you do it very well. I heard that at the garden party. Rumpole, they said, is as stubborn as a mule in cross-examination. What's happened to the gin?
Did they really say that?
Well, there was apple gin here last night.
Yes, I'll go down to the off-license shortly. You know what else Nick said?
As far as I'm concerned, Nick talked a lot of nonsense.
He said that you didn't know exactly who I am. You do know that, don't you?
Well, of course I do. You're Rumpole, aren't you?
Of course. Horace Rumpole. What on earth was he on about? Everyone knows me down the Bailey. An amiable eccentric who spills cigar ash on his waistcoat. Tells the time with the gold hunter and calls everybody old sweetheart. And I recite Wordsworth in the loo. Who am I exactly?